If there's nothing in your faith that disturbs you, if there's nothing in your faith that intimidates you, if there's nothing in your faith that humbles you, if there's nothing in your faith that makes you drop down on your knees, if there's nothing in your faith that challenges your visions of grandeur about how wonderful you are, I doubt you have real faith at all. Real faith at all is a struggle. It's conflict between where I am and where I ought to be, between what I feel and what he's called me to do, between the passions of my body and the calling of my spirit. It is always a war. Faith brings guns and pistols, shoots cannons and artillery. Faith drops weapons of mass destruction. Faith will leave craters in your soul, earthquakes, as you struggle to become what you hear. There is always a gulf between what you hear and where you are. A struggle, if you please, between the holy you and the human you. Like twins struggling in the womb. You can't get rid of one for the other. You pray, let the Holy One kill the human. Not gonna happen. And the devil prays, let the human one kill the holy. But grace says, not gonna happen. And so we live, Pastor Robinson, with the twins struggling in our womb, never able to abort one for the other. My prayer has always been, let the holy Jakes kill the human Jakes. But he has not done it. 56 years, he has not done it. And then I begin to realize that it is the human Jakes that gives flavor to the holy Jakes. Like the marbling in a fine cut of meat. Isn't it funny that it is the fat that gives the steak its flavor? It is the human that gives the holiness its humility. I am but a wretch undone. This text warns us as we struggle on the inside that struggle has something to do with the struggle on the outside, and that we are wrestling to enter into a rest. But right now, brothers and sisters, we are indeed in a wilderness. You can't tell it by looking. You can't tell it by how we're dressed. There is not a person in this room that is not in some kind of wilderness. A wilderness where nothing grows. A wilderness that reminds you of how thirsty you really are. A wilderness that defies all of the instruments of comfort. Buy you a big old lazy boy chair and scoot it all the way back. But the wilderness will disturb your rest. Custom design all of your clothes. But the wilderness will still leave you not fitting anywhere. And the writer warns us, if you don't learn from the ones who went before you, you will die in the same spot they did. So the text says, let us fear. Oh my God, let us fear? Let us fear? God is telling us to fear? The God who said, fear not, neither be thou dismayed, for I am with you. The God who stepped out on the seas and told the disciples, fear not. The Bible who says God has not given us the spirit of fear, in this text says, let us fear. Say it, let us fear. Say it, let us fear. So that means that there are some things. Is it a contradiction? No, it's not a contradiction. It is a collaboration of truth. A collaboration of truth says there are some things that I command you not to be afraid of. Don't be afraid of their faces. Don't be scared of, as my grandma would say, nary one of them. I don't know how you spell nary. That means all of y'all ain't scared of none of you. Nary one of them. Don't be scared of, don't be afraid of their faces. I will make your face like flint against their faces. That's what God said. Stand up against them. Cry out. Spare not. Show my people their transgressions. You cannot be successful and be afraid of people. They will always run you away from what God has called you to. In fact, I have learned that it is the barking of the haters that assures me of the promises of the holy. If you hadn't barked so loud, I wouldn't have thought something was in there. But when I heard your dogs barking, I knew where the treasure is. But the text says there is something in the midst of our fearlessness. In the midst of our fearlessness, the text says there is something that we should be afraid of. Let us therefore fear that we would live and die and not reach what he promised us. Now that I'm scared of. I've always said I'm not scared of dying. I was introduced to death at an early age. I saw my father die as a teenager. When life was just running all over my body, I watched it leave his. I am not afraid of death as long as I live first. What I am mortally afraid of is that I would exist without living. And let my fear of others and fear of circumstances and fear of rejection and fear of being misunderstood and fear of myself back me further and further and further and further up into a cave until I die in a wilderness that I was not called to. I am convinced that most people live and die in the wilderness of uncertainty. They're not sure. You would have built it, but you're not sure. You would have done it, but you're not sure. You would have seized it, but you're not sure. You could have had it, but you're not focused. You could have mastered it, but you wouldn't touch it. Your fear is your enemy. But you are afraid of the wrong thing. You ought to be more afraid of not accomplishing what you were created to than you are of the inconveniences and excesses along the way. Can I talk to you a minute? I was getting ready to speak at a pastor's conference, and I spoke that night what I thought was a really good message. And on my way out the door, one of the bishops came to me in the hallway, and he said, when are you going to preach on the fear? I said, the fear? I said, what do you mean the fear? He said, the fear that we as ministers live with every day. The fear. The fear. It's hard to do what we do. Trust me. It is hard, the scrutiny, the pressure, the demands. Trust me, please. Don't run up here. You might run up, but you're going to limp back.